It's Kelly and Bob, and we're back with the emotional series. Today we're talking about despair.
And this is not an easy conversation. This despair is really when we have the complete loss or absence of hope in our life. And hope, to me, I love the word hope because it gives us options. And when that is not present in our life, we feel hopelessness about our life and possibly the idea that there's any good left or that it's ever going to get better.
Yeah, I remember one of our mentors talked about when we get to a state of despair, we've taken a situation or an event and we've basically blown it up in our mind in a way that has caused this emotional state to occur. And it could have been something that was very traumatizing that we also had, that we experienced, like what happened with our friends. And it can immediately take us into a state of despair. So it's a real thing. It happens, obviously. I think what you're saying is, how do we start to shift out of it?
Well, it is a very real thing. I mean, I can, like that, go back to that space in my life. And that space, it's not a
not a
fun
good
place to be at
Yeah,
all,
right.
because especially when you give it permanence,
And
like
what do you mean
you
by that?
suggesting to yourself, not once, but over and over, that it will never get better.
There's never anything that could possibly come out of this that would be good. Does that sound familiar?
Yes. While I held on to a promise in 8:28, Romans 8:28, that God would use everything for good, I certainly didn't believe it at the time. I was angry at what was happening in my life, and I really questioned him. I challenged him actually to show me how this could be good. But I think one of the things that really helped for me, because at the time you truly believe and it feels real that there is
Right.
no hope, but you're isolating yourself often. You're not communicating
Right.
the feelings, and you do feel alone. And
You feel stuck.
yes,
Yeah, you feel stuck.
that's actually a really big word.
I think you also maybe you can. Did you feel like nobody else could understand you? Like nobody else could really step into this space and really feel what you were feeling, or like appreciate where you were at that moment?
Well, yes, because we think about all these things in our lives that we think we can control and that we think we can prepare ourselves for, but I could have never prepared myself for that kind of loss.
Hmm.
So I was not equipped by any means, and so I certainly at the time didn't want to make others feel uncomfortable. So I thought I shouldn't be feeling like this. No one else is feeling like this. And I started to blame myself that I wasn't further in my process, which certainly didn't help matters. But I think the idea of it's never, ever going to get better, I had to really start challenging myself with a question. And it was, is that 100% true?
I just think the word "never" is a word we want to avoid. Like you never do this. It's never going to get better. It's never going to happen. That's that's just a phrase we want to get rid of because it's never 100%, right? It's never 100%. So, what would you recommend to the audience?
Well, I
What's the
think
one?
we have so many assumptions
Right.
about things and that we assume it's 100%. But when we really ask ourselves, it was not 100% true that it would never get better
Hmm.
because there was social proof. I knew of other individuals that had experienced the emotion of despair,
Hmm.
and they were at a very different place in their lives. And that meant if they could do it, I could do it as well.
And in our real life, the character of Joanna is a real person in the film The Ravine. And Joanna kind of threw you a lifeline at that time. She came along right at the moment when you were kind of at rock bottom and helped you start to climb out of that. And so, my point with bringing that up is maybe you could be that lifeline for somebody in your life that is in the same place that Kelly was all those years ago and help them to start to make that shift. So, either be that person, or recommend somebody to that kind of person that can help them. But just know, and I think we can wrap this up with just knowing that there's always hope. There's always hope. And we have to start with asking ourselves better questions. Better questions are your power.
I think hope, though, goes beyond just being positive.
Yeah.
Hope is actually the belief, the faith that it's going to get better, but that you also have the capacity to be a part of making things better in your life.
I love that. It starts with the belief, but also that we have the power. Even at our lowest moments, we still have the power because God gives it to us. We just have to call on it within ourselves. All right. That's all we have this week on the emotional series. We'll see you next time.